Directed by Paul W.S. Anderson and released in 2004, Alien vs Predator promised to deliver the crossover movie fans had been asking for since the Xenomorph skull in Predator 2 and the series of comic books from Dark Horse. It was a long time coming and the film had a lot to live up to. The plot and setting of the film revolves around a team of scientists on an expedition led by Weyland Industries to an isolated island in Antarctica. Weyland Industries is the precursor to the Weyland Yutani Corporation, and one of their satellites had picked up a heat bloom coming from the island. When analysed, the signature showed the shape of a pyramid thought to have been made by some undiscovered ancient civilisation. When Weyland's team reach the island, they find the pyramid is in fact a predator testing ground where they return to every 100 years in order to breed and hunt xenomorphs in a rite of passage, and the humans are caught in the middle between the two species. I actually do kinda like the setting of Antarctica. It is a barren, isolated and harsh landscape, like Predator 1, Alien and Aliens, and it does a good job of establishing that feeling that there's no help coming if they need it. The best kind of setting for these films. Also, the abandoned whaling station does give me a Hadley's Hope vibe. Although it doesn't make much sense either from an Alien or a Predator film perspective, as in the Alien films the whole point was to not let the Xenos reach Earth, but here they're already on Earth hundreds of years before, and in Predator one of the main themes of those movies was how the Predators came to hunt when it was hot. And it does get criticised by fans a lot for this instead of being set on another planet. But despite this, at least Antarctica is isolated from human civilization and it's not set in a town full of people like they did later in the sequel. I think an isolated setting far from civilization is where these films do best, especially with the Alien films in particular, as the thought of aliens in a town or city just sounds silly to me. I think a good compromise would have been to set it in the future and on another planet like fans want, but make it an ice planet, so then they could still have made the film the way they wanted, but they wouldn't have gotten backlash for setting it on Earth. They could have made it like Prometheus where they travel there on a spaceship. I feel like the film does do a fairly good job of setting itself up and introducing the characters. We get a couple of brief scenes of what the main characters are doing before they are recruited for the expedition. It attempts to build up to things in the way Alien and Aliens both do. Maybe not executed as well, but I do appreciate them trying that, as one of the things I dislike that some movies do is when they don't effectively flesh out the main characters, so we don't get a feel for them and then you don't care about them and they all just kind of blend together and are just a bunch of NPCs you don't care about. But here I was able to differentiate the lead characters and learned what made them tick, and I found them all likeable and there was no one I found annoying or boring. The acting I thought was pretty good for the most part, and it seemed believable and made the film immersive. It takes its time to build tension and delays the arrival of the creatures, offering short glimpses over time before revealing them completely. And then the overall story and plot and pacing and action scenes I enjoyed too, and it does have some cool moments and set pieces. It also takes itself fairly seriously and the people act realistically for the most part, without too many unneeded quips and jokes being said through it, though I do wish they'd have left out a couple of the lines that were there just for cringy fan service. The film's score is also really good and definitely sounds like it belongs, and it also has a hint of aliens in it to my ear. There were bits I didn't like as well, like some of the story elements. The main character teams up with one of the Predators, which is something I'm not really much of a fan of myself. Also, there's stuff that makes no sense, like how in one instance, an alien goes from facehugger stage to chestburster stage in about 5 minutes just to serve the plot, where it should have taken like 12 to 24 hours. And I swear there were like 2 to 3 times as many aliens as there were impregnated humans to make them in the first place. One section where the film is severely lacking in though is the gore. There is almost no human blood or guts or anything. I could count on one hand when we see blood, and then it's just like a few specks of it, which is really odd coming from the Alien and Predator series, which up until this point had all been 18 rated films. I heard they added a bit more CGI blood in afterwards in a later version, but that's not in the basic original release that I own. I might have to try and find a copy of that version to see for myself what the differences are. The special effects range from being good for the time to just straight up awful even for 2004. There is a mix of practical effects like rubber suits, miniatures and puppetry with digital effects, and it's not just a case of an old movie having good practical and dated CGI, but it has both good and bad practical and also some good and bad CGI too, which is kind of strange. Some of the best looking stuff was the alien queen in the shots where they used the hydraulic puppet especially, where it looks amazing, and the design of the regular aliens with the black colour and smooth head domes is my favourite design for them after the one from the original Alien. And apart from the bodybuilder proportions, I really like the design of the Predators, that is until we see what they look like unmasked in this movie, which is the most awful they've ever looked. Look here at the original from 1987, and then here's this film's design from 2004. Why does the one from 17 years later look worse in every way? And then the way the Predator's mouth opens way too wide and unnatural looking. In the first it looked like it actually worked, but here it looks like a stretchy rubber mask. There's also this awkward looking bit where the alien is rolling around on the floor for some reason, which reminds me of back when they used to use stop motion like the Ed 209 in RoboCop, and then later when they're coming to rescue the Queen and Grid's scarring looks like it's loading in like a poorly programmed video game. The better effects of the movie though are seen in the use of some really impressive sets and miniatures. The whaling station they're walking through is a full-sized set which looks absolutely incredible, and then when the bomb goes off and it all starts collapsing, it's all miniatures, and then the bit where you see the helicopter approaching the ship, which I assumed was CGI, but is also miniatures, including the ship in the distance, which in the DVD special features, they said that was actually a 15 feet long model, and then the exterior shot of the pyramid was also a model about the size of a room, and another standout was the interior of the pyramid with a very unique black stone colour to it, and it's full of bones and cobwebs, making it look ancient and interesting, but also mysterious and hostile. I was actually shocked seeing the extent they went to making all the sets and miniatures for the film. There are also some really cool shots throughout the film, such as the opening where we see what we think is an alien queen, but then when the light hits it, it's actually a satellite. And then the bit where we see the massive Predator ship approaching all silent, and it passes the drilling team just above their heads and they don't even notice it. So overall, 20th Century Fox's first attempt at giving us an Alien and Predator crossover had a lot of good and bad. It's a movie idea with a lot of potential, and despite some cool moments, on the whole ended up feeling underwhelming and disappointed more people than it pleased, which is a shame as it should have been amazing. I did appreciate them taking an old school approach to filmmaking even back then, with a focus on taking time to try and establish the mood and characters, and I like the creature design too, but it was also lacking in some key areas. If you're interested in my video where I suggest how to fix Alien vs Predator and make it into an awesome movie, then you can check out that video here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.